A very good morning to you and welcome to another exciting time on television. The program is Business Angle and I am Ogali Mafuru. It's an exciting day today in Warri, Delta State, and I'm glad to have you. Well, we'll begin the program with a look at the Nigerian stock market report that says that the Nigerian Stock Exchange for the third consecutive day on Wednesday posted further growth, increasing by 27 billion naira. According to report, the market capitalization rose by 27 billion naira or 0.23% to close at 11.55 trillion naira against 11.52 trillion naira on Tuesday. Similarly, the all share index, which opened at 33,436.61, inched 78.32 points or 0.23 points to close at 33,514 due to price growth by some highly capitalized equities. Surplus led the gainers, stable during the day, appreciating by 9.98 naira to close at 485 naira per share. Guinness followed with a gain of 3.10 to close at 66.10, and well, on the other end, Nestle Note posted the highest loss to lead the losers, stable, shedding 16.50 to close at 903.50 per share. Well, look at the Naira exchange rate. The exchange rate between the Naira and the US dollar closed at 408 Naira per dollar at the investors and exporters window. The Naira gained 1.4 Naira against the US dollar to close at 408.6 naira to a dollar at the NAFEX window, which represents 0.34% gain compared to 410 naira per dollar recorded on Monday. Meanwhile, the exchange rate remained stable in the power market as it closed at 480 naira per dollar on Tuesday, the same as recorded on the previous trading day. Naira appreciated against the dollar at the investors and exporters window Tuesday, as it also closed at 408 naira per dollar. Well, let's look at the MBS report that says that Nigeria exits from recession, and the presidency is responding that this is a result of the economic initiative of the present administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, saying that it shows that economic plans are actually working. Nigeria exit from recession is a key indicator of the success of the ongoing economic sustainability plan approved by the federal government, the presidency has said. Laulu Akonde, spokesperson for the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, said Nigerians should expect more as implementation of the plan is gathering greater momentum. Ms. Akonde made these claims while updating the media on ASP progress and reacting to the latest GDP figures for the last quarter of 2020. Impressively, that same year is the year that we had to experience a devastating impact of COVID-19 and economic issues that came as a result of that. Well, let's see how it goes. The President and the Federal Executive Council approved the ASP plan just last June, and the Vice President was asked to lead the implementation of the plan. The plan is aimed, among others, at preventing a deep recession and putting cash in the hands of Nigerians after the economic fallouts of the pandemic. Nigeria slipped out of recession in the last quarter of 2020 as a GDP growth of 0.11% was recorded. Labour silent as Buhari governors discuss fuel price Thursday. The President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, and the state governors will discuss the issue of fuel pricing Thursday. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, disclosed this Sunday night after a bipartite meeting of the federal government and the organized labour at the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. A briefing journalist in the resolution, Ngige said the Labour had investigated the report of the Technical Committee on Premium Motor Spirit Pricing Framework as agreed at the last meeting and made the submissions alongside the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. The minister said the Labour side saw that they, NNPC, were making some points, and like I said, he said the progress is currently on. Well, to make sense of some of these issues and others, as usual, I have a guest who will be through making this conversation interesting by shedding light into some issues that we have to discuss. He is Dr. Chukwudi Ikukwoma, and a great business consultant. Thank you very much for being here with us, sir.
Thank you, Ogali.
Always my pleasure to have you, because you always have your ways to, unravel certain things when it comes to the economy.
Thank you very much. Let's see what we'll make out of this.
Yes. So, the discussion.
Hello, viewers.
Okay, you want to talk to them?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, the conversation is about a lot of things. We'll talk about inflation, and we'll also talk about the fuel price. We also know that the presidency will be meeting with governors in the different 30 states of the federation to have a discussion about the fuel price. We also know that there have been deregulation of the downstream sector that has resulted to market forces determining the prices of fuel price. Now we see that fuel price is now at between 180, 170 they say, to 180 naira per liter, and we're also expecting further increase. Where do you think this is taking us to as a country in relation to how it affects the ordinary Nigerians?
Yeah, let's start with the increase and the reasons why we're having increase now. You talked about market forces determining the increase. Recently, we know that the price of crude has appreciated, and we know that we're not producing or we're not processing the crude in Nigeria, so we're importing the PMS. Naturally, you don't expect those who process it to buy at higher cost and sell at the same price, so the price will increase, not because there's a policy flaw or there's a sabotage somewhere, but it's a market dynamic is increasing as a result of market dynamics, the forces. Now the question is, how is the ordinary man going to take it? And as you ask, how is it going to affect the economy? Well, it's going to increase inflation. It's going to cause inflation because of the chain reaction it will cause on ordinary products like food, like beverages. The market woman goes, it comes back with increased transport, he adds some percentage to his products, salaries are not increased, families are paying more money for the same living standard. It's not palatable, but you look at it, it's just inevitable, it's natural. Then the dealers, especially the people you are going to look at here, instead of harassing them, I think they deserve some pity. If you're going to buy 60,000 tons of PMS, you need about 10 million. If you take that from a bank, I think the minimum you can get now is 27%, and then you add the interest on the loan, you add logistics. By the time this PMS is landing in the filling station, so it's going to be more than 180 naira per liter. The sourcing price will be 160.22 as at yesterday, and you don't expect somebody to do business and don't go with some returns, because they have families to take care of. Well, you said there is an increase. I bought at 165 yesterday, but we're still expecting that this thing may get up to 195, 190, and the association of dealers, they have warned that, well, this will happen. Nobody is to blame for all this. They are natural occurrence as a result of market forces, but the economy itself, I think there are people who are watching over the economy, and they should take responsibility for that. If production, as the government claims, is costing 300% beyond expectation, what about the subsidy? If subsidy is carefully and effectively utilized, I think you won't have this increase in the downstream, because there's competition, we talked about pitying a man who is a dealer who is taking loan from the bank, but of course he has the capital has alternative uses. If you cannot survive at a regulated price, you can change to other businesses and sell off the filling station, you know, because the interest of the society should supersede other interests.
Personal interest.
You know, so if the subsidy really, I understand the government is withholding the subsidy, there's no good reason for that. You know, there's amount of money that is meant to cushion the price of fuel so that there will not be this increase in inflation. So the money should be used, and if it is effectively applied, it gets to those, you know, the problem I'm seeing is just corruption. It's not because market forces are shaking the economy. No, if the subsidy is properly administered, you won't be having turbulence in price in pump price of fuel. You know, that is
okay. So you talked about corruption, and a lot of persons believe that the reason for this incessant increase in fuel pump price is because some of those marketers are hoarding this product. But before you continue in responding to that, we spoke earlier to an oil and gas expert. He's Mr. Sule Matthew, all the way from Ontario, Canada. He has something to say about this.
Thank you for inviting me once again to your program. It's actually my pleasure being here once again. You want to know my thought as regards the recent fuel price increase from between 170 and 180 naira to a liter, and how the downstream sector has contributed, the regulation in the downstream sector has contributed to this, and what has the government got to do to bring this in check. And what I will tell you is that the regulation, you know, allows for people to be able to sell at whatever price they want to sell. What this tells you is now is that there's no subsidy anymore that the government is paying. So basically, importers, they import fuel and they calculate their landing costs and definitely add a little markup on it, and that's the amount they sell. But now what I want to tell you is what's causing this increase in prices because of majorly hoarding, because the price of crude in the international market is going up. As of yesterday, $63 to a barrel that they are selling oil. So those that have cargoes already, that have imported already, they are not pushing out the petroleum product from their depot. They are hoarding it so that they'll be able to sell at a later date and make, you know, a catalog of all the depots in Nigeria. So they can go around, check the stock in each depot, and if any depot is found wanting, sanction that depot and release the product out. As they are doing to the depots too, they should do to filling station. So by the time they do that, everything will normalize. It's just an artificial scarcity. But you should also understand too that during the regulation, prices are not static. When we used to buy fuel 90 naira or 100 and something, you know, there was subsidy then. So government always pays subsidy for the excess that comes on it. But now there's no payment of subsidy. So you expect fuel prices to fluctuate as the price of crude oil is going up. As of yesterday, $63 to a barrel that they are selling oil. So those that have cargoes already, that have imported already, they are not pushing out the petroleum product from their depot. They are hoarding it so that they'll be able to sell at a later date and make, you know, maybe a wide margin of profit, if you know what I mean. And some that, you know, are able to push it to stations. Some stations too are hoarding it. So basically, this is just artificial scarcity. There is fuel, but, you know, marketers are just playing games, hoarding the product so they'll be able to sell at exorbitant rates so that they can make much profit, if you look at it that way. You want to know my thought as regards what the government has to do to stop this. Basically, it's to impose sanction. And this falls on the purview of DPR, the Department of Petroleum Resources. Yes, they have to send their men out, go to all the depots. The depot owners, they have association, and the DPR, they have definitely a catalog of all the depots in Nigeria. So they can go around, check the stock in each depot, and if any depot is found wanting, sanction that depot and release the product out. As they are doing to depots too, they should do to filling station.
We were talking about the hoarding of fuel as a likely possible reason for this overwhelming increase of fuel price. What would you say about that? Because a lot of persons are having that concern.
I think I don't agree that hoarding is a factor in the increase in the price of PMS as it is now. I don't agree with that. The major reason is market dynamics, the forces. Global recession resulted in contraction of the markets, falling demand of oil. Now oil is picking up. The processor is also entered. You cannot buy clothes for the price of trade. The processor is adding value. He has to be paid for it. I think that is why you are doing a good job bringing this view to the public, because most people are temperamental. They don't understand. They feel somebody is punishing the other. It is not. But there's still a fault somewhere. The fault is in the application of the subsidy. The subsidy is actually meant to cushion the effects of the market forces and then reduce the turbulence in the pump price of PMS, because you cannot explain to 200 million people why the price is increasing within short time.
Are you saying that there should be subsidy?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes, of course. Because international economy is different from a global economy. The national economy is a subset of the global economy, and the government actually wants the goodwill of the people. It's just like when you have children, you buy certain things. It's not because you've got too much money, but you just want some satisfaction, of course, for your children. And we are looking at the economics. It shows that there is chain reaction. If you continue to have that turbulence, you may not be able to control the response to the change in price. So the reasonable thing is to stabilize it, because you may not have all the opportunity to come explain to people that this is not an induced, it's not by policy that the price is increasing. It's just market forces. So that's where we are faulting, is the application of the subsidy.
But the federal government, when they removed subsidy, they said it was for the betterment of the nation, as it will bring about competitiveness in the downstream sector, which everyone needs. Competitiveness results to more productivity. So where do you think this your stance on the removal of subsidy, play in this regard?
Competition. You have different levels of competition. When you allow people to import products, you bring in competition. When people sell freely, you bring in competition. But there must be a benchmark of prices. Like, you don't tell me you will import fuel. You get fuel, the landing price at 180, and you want to say you're bringing it down to 160 or 165. It's not possible. But if you allow some entrepreneurs to get their fuel, source their fuel, you control the quality, it's okay, and then he's getting it for 155 anywhere in the world, well, that's okay. But since the government depends on the revenue from oil, especially the sales of petroleum for its local revenue, the government is not going to let go. NNPC will not let go that monopoly on the importation of fuel. But there's something they can do. When you import the fuel, you apply the subsidy. So the man goes with his profits, he pays his banker, and then he sells at your regulated price. There's no way you can force a man to sell at lower than he bought something.
Okay,
So
let's talk about the meeting that the governors are supposed to be having in this respect tomorrow. We have refineries, and the latest is Dangote refineries, and a representative of the federal government was there and reaffirms the federal government stance on the deregulation of the downstream sector, saying it is inevitable. And they're looking towards, reviving the various refineries. You just hammed on the consequences of marketers having to import those fuel, products. What about our refineries?
Just 2 days ago, the government said the cost of production is 300% higher than expected. So producing may not solve the problem.
Okay.
Now, when you have refineries, private refineries coming up, that's good, but if the production cost is actually well estimated, then the private refineries are not going to escape it. So we are not expecting any magic from that deregulation. We're not expecting any magic. Dangote is not going to turn water to fuel. He's going to pass through the same production process, and he's going to be paid for the value he has added. So there's still the question of, I think the meeting with of the governors and the presidency is going to be a tough meeting, and I think the goal they should be pursuing there is how to stabilize the price, the pump price. The ordinary man doesn't want to know what you do downstream or upstream. He's just interested in the cost of transportation to work, the budgeting, the family budgeting, and then that is it, the living standard. So it's going to be a tough meeting, and I hope they will realize that what they are looking for, if they don't know, they know of course that is stabilizing the price, because it gives the government a bad name. Every now and then there is an increase. It's not because the government is punishing the people, it's because of market dynamics. But there is always a way to cushion those changes, so that if you are in a car, if you don't have a shock absorber, you bump into every pothole, it vibrates the car. But when you have a shock absorber, something absorbs something, the ordinary man may not quickly know what the market forces are doing to PMS.
Yeah.
And that means those chain reactions we're talking about will be held at equilibrium. So the market woman knows that a basket of gari in Okere market is 900 naira, and then when she sells, she gets 50 naira on a basket of gari. She can budget, she can plan her life. She's not going to increase the price. But if she goes to market and there's increase in transportation, you expect her to sell at the same price? It's not possible. These are market dynamics. You cannot control them. You can't control the market. Once there's competition in the market, the forces control the price.
Yeah, so we're looking towards stabilizing the price.
That is the goal. That is, of course, it is in the interest of the government. Otherwise, the government will continue to have unwilling citizens.
Okay, let's look away from fuel price and to the current issue that has to do with Nigeria exiting recession. According to the National Bureau of Statistics reports on the nation's GDP, Nigerians' gross domestic product (GDP) grew by 0.11% year to year in real terms in the fourth quarter of 2020, representing the first positive quarterly growth in the last 3 quarters. Interestingly, that was the same year we had to experience the devastating impact of COVID-19 in the economy, in the global economy, and even in the national economy as well. And to see that we are looking at a steady growth in the country, that is impressive. But according to the report also, the growth was largely driven by positive growth recorded in the information and communications sector by 15.9%, and agriculture by 3.42%. We're just talking about fuel price, and while you were talking, you made mention of Nigeria heavily depending on the revenue generated from oil, and to see that in a crisis situation we have growth coming from another sector outside the oil and gas, and we're looking at information and communication sector and agricultural sector. Where do you think what do you think this statistic means to us as a nation? What is it telling us as a nation in terms of diversification?
Well, let's look at the meaning of recession first, because when you say exiting from recession, people expect some carrots on the streets, and that is associated with the wrong definition or wrong meaning of recession to mean somebody has done some malpractice at the central bank, and then or some policy issues, and there's recession. Recession is somebody has taken away a large proportion of the revenue of the government. That is not true. Recession just means that it's a macroeconomic term which refers to a significant decline in the general economic activities of the country, and we talked about the past 3 quarters. If you remember, in April, May, there was lockdown, so there was virtually no economic activity, so recession was inevitable.
Okay.
The CBN, I don't think the CBN even determines whether there's recession or not. They get their information from the National Bureau of Statistics.
Yes.
So the market will contract. When people are not working, people are not moving around, the market will contract. Naturally, that is what happened. It's not that any government was punishing anybody or so. I'm not holding brief for the government, but these are just realities. Now, shortly after that, you're telling us that there is improvement there's increase in the GDP. And you're trying to associate it with some carefully planned sustainability plan, economic sustainability plan. Well, that's okay. Whoever cooked the soup, takes the credit. But I think the economy has its own elasticity. After people stop working, as they start working again, naturally you expect that the GDP will increase. So what we are trying to say is that when you have the recession, it's just recession is not a value. It is an estimate of the amount of economic activities. So you have exiting recession based on nominal GDP, according to you. But to find a meaning to that, you have to look at the base year, that this comparison is made, because you are comparing the total production in a country over a year with a base year, another year. Naturally, this is done, your result is from 2019 compared with 2020, and then this first quarter. But 2019, if you have an improvement in 2019, is it an improvement in the economy? We're exiting recession. People are very happy. Oh, that's good news. What does it mean? The economy is still the economy. The economy has this problem of insecurity. The economy has the problem of corruption. 2019 was not a beautiful year for Nigerians. So the good news is, yes, the figure is there, GDP has increased, but you don't expect anything to happen at Okere market, a Gudu market, or a Fumo market. So the government has a lot to do. A lot. Foreign investment. Okay, you're talking about increment from agriculture, and
yes.
they're trying to say, well, of course, there was a loan scheme. That is my immediate area. Loans came, NASA was there, the CBN was there, loans came. But if you go now, Ogali, go to the farms, you have a constriction, you have a contraction of the population of farmers. Many farmers have left their farms. People got loans, they could not do anything with the loans. A bag of like in the poultry industry, a bag of feed rose between 2,800 to 5,000, and then you're giving a man loan. What is he going to do with the loan? Some applied the loan and they failed. They are going to face problem in the repayment. So yes, the government took action where there was sustainability attempts, but reality on the ground is still pitiable. This country has to do something about insecurity. This country has to do something about corruption.
Yes, I must say a very big thank you, Dr. Chukwuma, for having this time with us on the program Business. And there's a lot I know you have to say, but time would not permit us. Maybe some other time we'll have you on the program discuss further on this, especially on the agricultural sector. Seeing that
yes. That is where the direction of the diversification.
Should that
the world is saying 60% of arable land, unused arable land, is in Africa. That Africa can feed the whole world. But what is happening? What is happening on ground? You know, we have to do something about agriculture.
Yes,
the state government.
We'll have another time where you.
We need to talk about agriculture as it affects the economy and agribusiness in general.
Yes. So I must say thank you again, sir, for making this a moment possible
thank you
for
very
us to
much.
have this conversation. That's very, very, enlightening. And of course, I know that you have gained a lot from this program. Do well to join us for another exciting time, same time next week. I'm Ogalima Furu. Thank you for watching.